Welcome this evening. We're so excited to have you. We're looking forward and we're excited to kick off our Monday or our week with you. I'm sorry, it's Sunday. I'm jumping ahead because I'm excited about this week. But I wanted to welcome you to today's session. We will be going over a little bit about breath work. We're going to do some breathing and deep breathing with us today with Dr. Carolyn Rowley. And then we're going to go on and talk about a little bit of what your narrative is and your story that you tell yourself. I ask that the rest of the team can join me. We can all do little quick introductions as to who we are, and we can get this party rolling. My name is Heather Avant. I am one of the co-chairs of the Sickle Cell Mental Health and Wellness Initiative, and I am joined by some very esteemed players. And we will start with Dr. Carolyn Rowley.
Hey there, hi there, ho there, everyone, and welcome. My name is Dr. Carolyn Rowley, and I am the Executive Director and Founder at Cayenne Wellness Center, located in California, where we take care of people living with sickle cell disease in California. Thank you.
Dima.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dima Hendricks. I am the lead health coach for the Charisma Study, and I am also the founder of the Through the Pain organization.
Clayton.
Hey everyone, I'm Clayton Andrews. I'm the clinical director and owner of Andrews Counseling and Family Resource Center.
Well, thank you all. Well, let's get right into it. Let's not waste any time. I hope you all are ready to get grounded a little bit with some deep breathing and some breath work. Dr. Rowley, can you take it away?
Thank you. All right, everyone. So at this point, we're going to do some mindful breathing. So I ask that if you are sitting right now, that you get into a comfortable upright position. If you are laying down, that's fine too. And at this point, we want to get familiar with our breath right now. We're not going to go into our 2, 2, and 4. Just become familiar with your breathing. And then I also ask that you have your hands placed on your thighs or beside your bed, upright with your hands, your palms up to the ceiling to be in a receiving position. And so if you're sitting, you want to make sure that your feet are, your legs are like hip, they're planted firmly on the ground, kind of hip apart. And so feel free to either lower your head a little bit, looking down, or for myself, I tend to close my eyes to be able to just kind of concentrate. So at this time, what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in for the count of 2. We're going to hold for the count of 2. And then we're going to exhale through our nose through the count of 4. And we're going to breathe in for the count of 2. So if you can join me. Hold for the count of 2. And exhale through your nose for the count of 4. Breathe in through your nose. Hold. And out. And in. Hold. And out. And at this time, I want you to just become aware of becoming a little bit more comfortable in your chair with your arms just being relaxed and your neck not so tense. In, hold, and out. And in, hold, and out. And as you become aware of your neck muscles being relaxed and your arms, so with your diaphragm and your stomach, when you breathe in, you're actually expanding your stomach. Breathe in, hold, and when you breathe out through your nose, your belly button is coming closer to your spine. And breathe in, expand the stomach, hold, and breathe out. Breathe in, Hold and breathe out. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. And so I just want you to focus on how you're feeling in terms of that you are have joy. I have joy. Hold and breathe out. Breathe in, just to tell yourself that I have joy. Hold and breathe out. Breathe in, hold, and out. Breathe in. This time, in addition to I have joy that I'm also enough. Hold and out through the nose. Breathe in. I have joy. I am enough. And breathe out. Breathe in. Hold. And breathe out. Breathe in. At this time, our theme today is narrative and the story of yourself. Hold. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. So we'd like for you to take this opportunity right now to think about some of those stories that we tell ourselves. That little voice inside our head. And out. Breathe in. Hold. And out. Sometimes that voice can get us through the day. Hold. And out. Breathe in. Hold. And out. And sometimes, though, that voice may seem that it makes it a little bit more challenging to navigate. And out. So we look forward to exploring that with you today. We're going to take 3 more breaths. Breathe in. Hold. And out through the nose. Breathe in. Hold. And out. Last breath together. Breathe in. Hold. And out for the count of 4. All right, so if we can actually open our eyes. Thank you for joining us. I'm curious how everyone is actually feeling at this time before we get into our topic for today. And you all just kind of share with us where you are right now at this particular moment.
Well, I can speak for myself, but I know that in that moment I was able to find a little bit of quiet. It's the first time I think I've heard quiet today. There's always something going on in my home, so that was nice to just not for a little bit, just a few moments of just some breathing and focusing on myself. It gets easy to focus on everyone first. And
Yes.
so allowing myself to put myself first for just a little bit was nice.
Thank you. And I think that's why I look forward to these Sundays as well, to just carve out that time because it can truly be eaten away with everything that we have on our plates and then some. Thank you, Heather. Anyone else want to share?
Feel relief. Relief at the end of a day, long day. Just the satisfaction of breathing
I
gave
like that. The
relief.
satisfaction.
Yeah.
Satisfaction of breathing.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you. And I don't see that there are any comments at this time. So I'm going to turn it back over to Heather and Clayton.
Hi, everyone. So Clayton and I are happy here and happy to discuss a little bit about what the narrative is. What is the story that you tell yourself? We all have a story that, or the narration that's running in the background of our minds, whether it's something that we see visually, something that we've written down, words, pictures. There's always usually a story of how we talk to ourselves. When you wake up in the morning, do you say, oh God, I got to get up and do this another day? And how can we what are ways and tools that you may have? And we'll talk about some of our tools of how we can change that thought process. So for me, we can start to we want to really talk about geared towards sickle cell and the caregiver perspective and how that looks is when you're going into a crisis. I know for me, going into a crisis, I know exactly that I have my protocol. I know that I have to tell my husband to get him on high alert that there are things moving, things are shifting, and things need to change, and they need to do it quickly. I have my heating pad protocol. I have my water bottle protocol. I have my drugs. But it's all about how do we share with others so we don't have panic. For me, I don't want anyone around me to panic. It's not going to help me. If my husband is around here and he loses the kid while I'm in the middle of a crisis, I guarantee you it's not going to help me feel better. So how do we talk to ourselves? How do we talk to others? How are we narrating our story when we're in crisis? But anyone on the Clayton, I think this is a good place for you to step in.
Absolutely. The narration that we give ourselves is what sets the tone and what writes the remainder of our story. Not even, we're talking about crisis, but not even in just a pain crisis, in the crisis of our lives. How we approach things and how we write that story is going to be how that journey is. If I approach a certain situation in a panic, like you said, everything's going to be in disarray. And especially from a male perspective, from a man's perspective, if I'm approaching a crisis in a panic, that doesn't let my wife feel secure, then my children are going to be worried about the wife, and it just sets the whole household in disarray. So setting your story, I'm in a pain crisis, I'm in a home crisis, I'm in a financial crisis, spiritual crisis, whatever the crisis is, being able to set your mindset and say, this is how I can most optimistically deal with this story. Okay, so things are looking this way, but these are the approaches I can use to get out. These are the approaches that I can use that are going to help me. Thinking towards that positive step, that's what helps that narrative.
I was going to share, I like that. I was going to add that given what you both stated, that being prepared might also help. So being prepared. So for instance, for myself, I have a bag and it's dusty, so that's good. But there's still a bag that has everything in it. Because when you're in a place of having now to move and you've shared with your family members what's going on, it can move quickly. So I think being prepared by having that bag everything's in it in terms of power supply for the computer, for the phone, um, everything that's actually needed, so that I don't actually have to think about it. My writing pad and pencil, um, everything is actually right there, and it's almost like a one of those fire drills that kids had when they were in school, so that when it's time, then everyone knows their role in terms of what to do. Everyone knows who to call. Make sure you get the bag. Has so and so been notified? And for us, because we have dogs, we have to also make sure that they're taken care of as well, and who's on call for that. So being prepared, in addition to what you both were saying, I think helps. This helped me.
Absolutely. Dima?
I'm very bad with preparation. To be totally honest, I think my husband is so used to keeping me calm in the situation that he's the one that's just going into gear. He has a bag prepared with everything in it. He has my medication, he has the heat packs, he has my like everything. So I kind of, to be honest, I kind of lean on him. So I'm very thankful for my caregiver spouse.
Well, and I think that's something to talk about, right? Is that a lot of us have caregiver spouses, caregiver mom and dads. A lot of people I know for 32 years, my mom was my caregiver, and she would run in and save the day, even in the very beginning of my marriage when I was still not quite trusting of my husband to completely take over. My mom was flying across the country to come take care of her baby. But yeah, having someone help you, having someone who has it all together when you can't, I think that that's something that I think we all need to acknowledge. That I know my husband is very calm, and sometimes it kind of freaks me out. And I make really inappropriate jokes when I'm in pain. And so he's like, "Can you stop doing that? Because it's not reading as Heather's in pain, it's reading as comedy hour." But it's how I cope. And so he reminds me, like, when you're making jokes in the emergency department, this is probably not the best time because it could be read wrong. Again, what's the story I'm telling, and what is the narrative that I'm sharing with others? I think the inappropriate jokes come from the drugs. I'm not going to lie. I think everyone reacts to those narcotics a little differently, and mine just happens to be inappropriate jokes. I think I've embarrassed my mom for so many years. She's just gotten used to it. But those are things to think about. And then I think we want to kind of dive into, how can you be your own superhero? Like, when you're in the eye of the storm, when you're in the middle of it, how can we speak life? How do we speak wellness? How do we speak healing over ourselves? How do we deal with it when the world is upside down? Clayton.
That is a deep question. How do you speak life into a world of chaos? I think it has to do with the life that you speak into yourself first. I tell many of my clients, and then sometimes my wife has to tell me, you're no good to anybody if you're trying to do for everyone and can't do for yourself. You have to be able to focus on that inner self, that introspective look first before you can even focus on navigating that chaotic world. You have to be able to navigate yourself.
Absolutely. We do have a comment in the chat. It says, it's from Etta. Hi, Etta. Welcome back. It says, "I'm a little tired today. When I go into a crisis, I make sure the house is clean." Do you clean the house when you're in crisis? You are phenomenal. And I let my young adult kids know I'm about to go into the hospital, and have my bag and my notebook. I write everything down when I go to the hospital, everyone's name, date, and time. Yes, that's powerful, writing everything down. That's hard to do. I don't know about y'all, but I can't focus long enough to write my name, let alone write anything else down. So that's what my husband has become for. or I just take pictures of everyone's badges when they walk in. I'm like, let me take a picture of your badge. Heart to heart with Heather B. Because sickle cell upends my life without any notice at any day or night, I developed a type A personality. Yes. With that said, I'm always packed on high alert. I have a hospital bag packed and ready to go, as well as doctor's numbers on speed dial. Demon?
So that's the superpower question.
Whatever. We're talking. We're having discussion.
Yeah.
Let's keep it moving.
All right. So I wanted to touch on what you said, Heather. Your humor is your superpower. That you mentioned the inappropriate jokes, but sometimes I use my humor too to get through the pain of what I'm going through at the moment. I also go into Psalms 23. I repeat that. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Kind of keep that in my brain. And no, my humor and my word and God, those are the things that I use to fight my battles.
Absolutely. I have a lot of superpowers. I mean, there are a lot of, I think we all have more than one, especially being warriors, growing up with this. I feel like none of us have just one thing that we do. I mean, a lot of us have, there might be someone that only has one. And if you only have one, that's your focus, that's great. I start off with humor. I usually end up in tears because I'm like, they're like, we're going to admit you. And I'm like, oh, my life. I have to go home. I have to work. So I start off with humor. And I think because a lot of times, it's the same reason. Like they ask me if you can walk into the hospital. I always say I'm going to walk in because I'm probably not going to walk out. And, my husband's like, that is just not funny. And I'm like, but it kind of is. I mean, he's like, Heath, like, we got to work on that sense of humor. You're freaking me out, And I remember even having to get blood last time I was hospitalized. And I didn't remember having to get blood. I was really ill. And when I woke up a couple of days later, I remember asking the doctor, he was like, you even advocated for yourself. He was like making sure that you were like making sure you had the right kind of blood and making sure that your antibodies were matching up. I was like, I did all that. He was like, apparently it's on autopilot, right? We do things and we don't even realize we're doing them because I promise you, I didn't know. So yes, let us know for all those and all of our listeners today. What are your superpowers, Dr. Raleigh? What is one of your superpowers? I'm sure you have many.
So one of them is that I think I'm very skilled at putting myself in a different place. Meaning that I can visual imagery, and I, in addition, because breathing is challenging, I think everybody would know that. But I'm constantly not only have faith that I'm going to be okay, I visualize myself healing, and I have different things. So for me, mine is sun and the beach and feeling the sun and how the sun is actually warming over, releasing, relaxing. So I use different visual imagery that's actually been very, very helpful over the years. That would be one. I also realized that given my belief in God, that I know that we actually have everything that we need, including the ability to heal. And so it takes a lot of effort to do that. And sometimes it can get challenging, particularly when you're trying to breathe through the pain. And my pain tends to be throbbing. So there's this moving back and forth to move with it. But I use that part to help myself with the healing part as well. So for me, my superpower is knowing that I have the ability to heal and the faith that I know that I'm going to be okay. It's interesting that you two mentioned about humor, but my husband will tell you when I'm finally in the hospital, it's the opposite. I'm just talking to everybody. And so making them be happy. Like when you come in, you have to smile. You can't be Debbie Downer. And I'll tell them that they have to move before they actually, move their body before they can come in and put on a happy face. No, seriously,
Because their energy,
very much so. So for
people
whatever
bring
reason,
into the room. Yeah.
I don't accept the negativity. So for some reason, my husband will say, I would have full on conversations about life and the pursuit of happiness and everything in between and not even remember. But I think that perhaps is my ability, my desire for them to see me as a human being, to be trusted and to be respected. And so, for whatever reason, I'm actually doing that and not actually realizing that I'm doing that.
That's powerful. I think there's a lot of power in that. I firmly believe that people bring in energy into your room. I have a rule of no crying around me when I'm in the hospital because who needs that? If I'm not crying, you shouldn't be crying. And if I'm crying, you really shouldn't be crying. So, Clayton, what are your thoughts on that? What are some of your superpowers?
Oh wow. I think it's my unyielding stubbornness.
I love it. I love it. That says so much, Clayton.
No, I like that. So, your stubbornness in what? That, like, can you give us an example?
I don't know. I just for me it's just from hold on, hold on, wait, no, let it ride, let that ride. Wait a minute.
That girl you're rocking out over there, her part ringer is like.
You know what I'm gonna be playing on my playlist when I get
Wait, word up.
Word up.
Oh, Etta wrote, my superpower is I don't focus on my pain.
Hmm.
Yeah, not focusing on the pain. Distractions are oftentimes really good, right, Clayton? So is that what you were talking about it before Dr. Riley's phone went off? You're talking about your
so
stubbornness.
I'm stubborn. So, for me it's I see too many, and it might also be just a part of my profession. I see so much that other people are dealing with that for me it's like, oh come on, get up, you got this, go, let's do it. And what I usually use for my distraction is, I'm a gamer, so I play my video games, or I'm over here on a Marvel Universe binger right now on the TV, to kind of deal with some stuff. So, I distract myself with that. And I like to laugh too. I love to laugh myself. So, and those are my distractions.
Well, that's good. Think it's good to know. I hope that the community can provide us with some of their distractions. I saw Edda's, but I'm sure that there are more out there. There are so many different ways we can use to kind of talk differently to ourselves, to take our mind off of what we're going through. And even as caregivers, right? I know that caregivers, I know that as a mommy, and I'm sure as parents, we've all seen our kids in pain or hurt or unwell, and it just breaks your heart. When my son had COVID, I had to leave the house immediately. I was literally forced out probably within 3 hours. I had to leave the house because I just cannot get COVID. And my doctor made it very clear that I needed to leave. And I remember the fear I had for my little boy because I couldn't be there for him. And so I understand. I can only imagine as a caregiver of a warrior, right? We're in and out of the hospital all the time of what our caregivers go through and how they have to watch us go through this. What are their distractions? So I'm curious if there are any caregivers listening today who would love to chime in. It's just something that I'm always curious about. I'm always concerned about my husband's mental health and well-being too. We do have a comment. It says, Natalie Wood, if I can remain centered on the way to the hospital, the pain is lessened. Oh, that's good. I wish you could talk to us because I really want to hear, how do you remain centered? Because when I'm in the hospital, I think about every single bump that I hit on the car on the way there. Every bump. I'm just like, if you don't start learning to swerve. And Etta, you crochet and make blankets. That's wonderful.
I think these are great distraction. The gaming, the crocheting, um, all these other different distractions. Um, the video games. I think the other thing that I do is music. So there's a particular song that when I'm really out of it, that my husband puts on, and then it repeats over and over again. So music as well um, is being played.
Well, I want to keep this conversation going because I'm enjoying it. I'm loving hearing about all the different distractions that we use. I want to talk a little bit and get more into the anticipation of the next crisis, right? Because how many of you guys have been in a space where you weren't really sure, but you became so negative in your head that your body went into this almost like I call it a pseudo crisis for me. It's when I'm talking so poorly to myself, I start feeling those aches and pains and the creaks set in and I start worrying and I'm like, oh God, is this it? And then I'm like, what do I do? And so then I'm pushing fluids and I'm hydrating because I don't know what it is. But then I'm like, you know what? Calm down. Let's get into some deep breathing. We're going to put some air into these lungs. We're going to hydrate. We're going to get warm. We're going to center ourselves. We're going to reset our vagus nerve. We are going to calm out and calm down. So how do we prepare? Like, how are we building our mind up? What are some of those thoughts? Anyone? Clayton?
In preparing for a crisis, how are we building our minds?
Or your anticipation for the next crisis, the next episode. Like, how do you work through anticipating, like, oh God, this is going to happen again, or this could happen again? Honestly, or if you're feeling one coming on and you're not sure if you can stop it or prolong it, or how do you deal with that anticipation that it can happen again, and it may happen again, and it probably will happen again, unfortunately.
Well, I think that's the approach that I use. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And so if I'm feeling that twinge or that when you can feel that something not quite right feeling, I start using those preventative measures, making sure I take my medicine. I might take an over the counter just to be on the safe side, just to try to preempt it. Personally for myself, I hate my prescribed medicine. So I do everything in my power not to have to take it. Because I know for me, if I've gotten to the point where I have to take my prescribed medication, I might as well be on my way to the hospital anyway. So I do everything in my power. I'm using a lot of preventative means for me when it's preparing for that crisis. If I feel it coming on, if I feel it's the perfect recipe, weather, stress, mood, household, all those different things, even excitement for good things that can trigger a crisis sometimes. Being able to monitor that and adjust for when you're feeling that offset feeling, when things are a little bit off, using those preventative measures. So I'm eating something hot. Popeyes is my personal favorite. I get my 2-piece biscuit with my buffalo sauce and my red beans and rice and the sweet tea with extra hot sauce. Hot heat. I'm looking for heat, or I'm fixing something hot to eat with like maybe some grits or something, or hot noodles, something that I know, that'll warm me up internally, My wife will turn on the heat, to keep me warm, and she'll make sure I'm in a blanket. And next thing I know, I'm like in 10 layers of sheets because she's trying to make sure too. But using those preventive measures is what I do. That's the approach that I take.
For me, I can tell you, I notice I have, episodes like this sneak up on me. And unfortunately, I don't have them very frequently. I have been very blessed over the last 10 years of my life to only have maybe 3 sickle cell crises. So I'm just, like I said, I'm exponentially blessed. But I do notice that I call them good stress moments. I always like to maintain a level of stress for me. because it's like as long as I'm going up the hill on the roller coaster, I'm okay. But if I get to the top and level out, and I'm like, oh, I can see the top, it's so pretty. My body's like, oh, I can relax and rest now, and then it's like the bottom falls out. So I have to speak to myself every day a little bit and talk to myself and say, alrighty, this is good stress. You're calm right now, but let's keep this, let's keep climbing this hill, right? Our work isn't over, our journey isn't over, and our mission isn't over. So constantly speaking to myself, being grateful for what I have, but always trying to figure out what's next. And I know that sounds crazy because then it sounds like I'm a perfectionist, and I am working on it. I am working on it. It is tough. I'm sure you all know me well enough to know that I have perfectionism issues. But I'm working on it. But it's always it's how I speak to myself. Heather, today you're going to have an amazing day. When I'm having a really rough day, a really rough start, I find myself saying, "Oh, I'm so tired. Oh God, I'm tired. Today is a long day. Oh, I have been with this boy for 4 days in a row. Lord Jesus." But then I'm like, I've had the joy of listening to him giggle for 4 days. As soon as I flip that switch and start talking to myself in a positive way, I've got to see him laugh for 4 days. This little boy looks just like his father. Oh my God. He acts just like my father. Like, what is going on in my house? I start recognizing that my mind is going into a different space. My work is good. Or on the other hand, I say I'm overwhelmed and I'm doing too much and I can't handle it. I feel that in my body versus when I say I am exponentially blessed. Look at all the work I have. Look at all the jobs I have coming in. Look how many people want me to take their photos. I must be doing something right. They're not ugly. Yay, I'm winning. So I think it's all about how we're talking to ourselves and how what we say really matters.
Yes, I think for myself, so what's interesting is I don't anticipate having another pain episode. I and part of it is I know that some of you may know Shirley Powell, who was hospital free for over 20 years, and so therefore I know that is possible. But I also know that as we age, other things and have all different crises, other things you can have complications. So I anticipate that I will have a very long stay out of the hospital. That's what I anticipate, and that's what I desire. How I handle that is, if in the case that I have this aura and I know that it's coming, I do already know what to do. I already know that's the opportunity to stop, hydrate, go home, um, heating pad, and relax. And for the most part, and that's it in hydration. So I think I can. I think I can. I desire to, and I don't anticipate. But when it does, I think what helps is not to panic, not to allow my mind to go into an anxious mode, but to be as calm as I normally am by saying, what are we going to do? And how are we going to manage? And let's see if this is one that I can remain hospital free. And if it doesn't work out that way, it's okay. And so I give myself grace and permission to go in. And the goal then, if I have to go in, let's make it quick. And so, because that is not my life. So I think I have a tiered effect in terms of one, I don't think I ever have to go back in, but if I do, then this is the steps that I take. And once I'm in, this is the steps that I take to make sure that I get out quickly.
Dima.
Dr. Rowley said it so beautifully.
She did. I know, right?
She anticipates what she desires. And I like that. If you desire not being in the hospital, anticipate what you desire. So yeah, I love that. I think I'm being better about doing the same. I'm getting to that place where my husband's the worry ward now when it comes to that stuff because I'm busy trying to just work through, you know, doing all of the things, doing life. So I'm just anticipating the best of what's ahead.
I think that that is so well said. But I think, and I don't know this for everyone, right? Because we're all in such different spaces. I feel like that is the way to go about it, anticipating life. I think that that is profound, anticipating what you desire, what you want out of life. Um, Taking out the crisis, the next crisis. And I think there's something to be said to stop anticipating the next crisis, to just kind of say, hey, I'm going to live my life the best that I can, whether it's some of us 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, 3 weeks, 7 years, 22 years. Anticipate your life, you know, and I pray that we all can get to that space where we're just anticipating life. We're just like, hey, let me live this life that I got in front of me. Let me not think about sickle cell. I know for me, unfortunately, because of some recent circumstances, I have to think about it because I'm experiencing more pain in the space that I'm in. And it's new for me. I'm like, what? Wait, why am I hurting? Like, what are we hurting? Are we? And then my doctor's like, well, you're a little getting older. Like, okay, but she's like, but what? Age is happening, whether or not you desire to say it. You know, I told everyone, I stopped telling people how old I was. I turned 40 something and then I forgot. And people ask me how old I am, and I have to like do the math now because I just literally was like, I refused to think about it after 40. I was like, that's it. I'm not thinking about it. My doctor's like, that's not how it works though. Okay. You're still aging. So yeah, but I recognize I still have sickle cell every day, but I try not to live in it every moment. I try to really take life and say, how can I live my best life? How can I really enjoy today? Today was a beautiful day here in Texas. The last couple of days we've had storms come through, so today was just stunning. And I was like, look at this, it's so pretty outside. I should go for a walk. I didn't, but it was pretty outside anyway. Dr. Raleigh, you're muted.
What I would like to say, I think if you guys know me, I like to move my body and hum and sing. So right now, you guys just reminded me of the song "Living My Life Like It's Golden." And if you seriously, just you guys are all smiling right now. So just saying that and feeling it makes you sit up a little bit, straighter and recognize, again, that's a desire to live your life that way. I did want to read Heart to Heart says, my mom always said I act like I don't know I have sickle cell. I do not prepare my mind for the next crises. And when I read that, I thought, I wonder what that, she acts like I don't have sickle cell. And I don't know what is that? What is that to behave as if you have sickle cell disease? Is that the words? But I thought that was an interesting statement. Anybody have any thoughts?
I don't know what it's like to act like sickle cell.
Like, what does it mean? Are you always cautious? Are you always lying down? What does that look like? You know, that's a good perspective.
I think so.
Because some people expect me to look different. They expect me to
look sick
or look sick.
I'm sure we've all heard that. Well, you don't look sick. Mm-hmm. My doctor's like, what does that mean? My hematologist gets so upset when people say, well, she doesn't look sick. My hematologist was in my room one time and internist said that to me. And she goes, what does that mean? And she said it so loud, it startled me. I was like, oh, she about to mommy bear you. And she was like, what does that mean? And I mean, you know, I was very sick and she doesn't look sick. Mm-hmm. What is that? Like, so she believes I live in denial. I live carefree. I don't think that you live in denial. I think that you live in your best life. But I don't know you. So maybe we'll get to know you over the course of the next couple of weeks. I hope that you join us again. Well, guys, I don't know if you guys want to like call it a night. We're about at time.
Wow. That went by quickly, like everything else.
I know it's going by so fast.
The best way, I'm sorry, it just hit me, and I forgive my delayed. I think for her, she is living her life without being constrained by her sickle. So she's not giving herself time to consider the constraints of it. And I think that's one of the best approaches.
That's
Living
best
living
way
your
to
life
Mm-hmm.
carefree.
Mm-hmm.
carefree. That's fine.
Wonderful.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, if you walked around moping all the time, she would tell you getting on her nerves. I don't know. That's just how I look at it. Ah,
Well, and I was going to say, you don't probably heart to heart doesn't talk the sickle cell talk. She's not talking the pain talk. She's not walking the pain walk, and acting like all hunched over and what have you. But why not be carefree? Um, breath. We have life because breath was put into us today.
Mm.
So the fact that we are here right now today, being able to hear and see each other, means that we had something to do. And it does not mean that we need to be all bent over and complaining and being a hypochondriac about everything, but to honor the fact that we have this day right now to live. And if it's living carefree, why not? And if it's honoring, um, just doing what you can do right now at this moment with whatever energy that you have, that's okay. So actually, I think being carefree because you are alive right now to be so is great.
well, I think that that's a wonderful sentiment to end on. And so I just want to thank everyone for coming this evening to talk about a little bit about the narrative and how the story that we tell ourselves. Hopefully, you got something out of this today. I know I did. I have notes. I'm excited. I have some one-liners in here about anticipating what you desire. So I'm excited to really think about it and be more proactive in thinking about how I speak to myself,
Yes.
remembering that. So next week we're going to come back with, again, we're talking more about your narrative, about your story and the story that you tell yourselves. And we're going to talk about how you participate in your story. How do we actively doing? What are we doing in our story? Are we really living our story? Or are we just talking a good talk? So I hope that you will all join us next week. Dr. Raleigh is going to close us out with some community breaths. So I'm going to mute myself.
Thank you. All right, everyone. So this was a wonderful opportunity to gather again together. And I always look forward to these Sundays at 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock your time, if you're on the East Coast. We're going to take 3 breaths together and then wish you all a good evening. So again, whether you're lying down, you're sitting, and this time I'm going to have you have your hands down because we've already been receiving. So now we're just going to take that in and put your hands either on your thighs, face down, or on the bed next to you if you're lying down. And so we're going to do 2, 2, and 4. We're going to take a deep breath in with your diaphragm expanding out. I'm going to hold it for 2. And we're going to breathe out through our nose for 4. Breathe in for 2. Hold it. Breathe out for 4. And our last community breath, breathe in, hold, and breathe out. And I take this opportunity to again say thank you for joining us. Have a good evening.
Bye, everyone.